Good evening. It is 6 o'clock, March 21st, 2016. It's time to call the San Felipe del Rio Consolidated Independent School District Board of Trustees regular meeting to order. Ms. Haynes, would you please take roll?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Chavia?
Here.
Mr. Mesa?
Here.
Mr. Oldfeld?
Present.
Mr. Yerbidian?
Here.
Myself, Mrs. Lozano?
Present. Ms. Haynes, do we have a quorum?
Yes, ma'am.
Let the record show that a quorum of the board members are present, that this meeting has been duly called, and notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, let's please stand for opening ceremonies, beginning with a moment of silence, and then following with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we begin our meeting today. I don't think this makes with recognitions, beginning with Mrs. Martinez, who will present Garfield Art Club in honor of Art Appreciation Month.
Hi, good evening. Garfield Art Club is honored to be here tonight and to share this special month with you. March is Youth Art Month, which emphasizes the value of art education for all children. Our art club of 24 meets throughout the school year to work on additional art projects and to bring awareness to our community.
As a token of our appreciation and to thank you for your support, our art club has made you a unique and heartfelt piece of art. We hope you enjoy it. Please join us for Family Art Night Thursday from 5 to 7 at the Garfield Cafeteria.
And with that, we just want to present you with their students' artwork. So just give it to them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Martinez, and all the students. Second, we have recognition of the Del Rio High School Mariachi Band for qualifying to participate in the UIL State Mariachi Festival. Mr. Ricardo Rios. And his mariachi band, or at least some of them.
Good job, lady. Good job. Congratulations, ma'am. Congratulations, sir. Congratulations.
Okay, we're very proud of our Del Rio High School Mariachi de Medianoche students. Out of our region, there was only 3 mariachi groups that qualified to go to the state meet, and so that in itself was we were very, very proud of that accomplishment. That out of entire region, just 3, and of course we were one of those. We also were very proud of our non-varsity group under the direction of Mr. Morales as well, because that group also received a first division. Unfortunately, we're only able to take one group to this state meet from each school, but I'm sure that we have taken them, they would have done an excellent job over there as well. Not to take anything away from these guys, because we brought a few of our varsity members, and we did compete in San Antonio. Well, we didn't win a top place there at the state meet, but just to get an opportunity to be a part of the contest itself and get to represent Del Rio, that in itself was a great accomplishment. And so I'm very thankful to the students and their parents, as well as to our administration, for everything that they always do and go and support Dr. Rios for making the trip to San Antonio to go support the kids. Thank you so much for being there and always for supporting our fine arts program. And we hope to win some more contests. We have a few contests coming up, 2 more, and we're hoping that we're going to be able to place in upper spots at those particular contests. But again, thanks to everyone for the support of our fine arts program and our mariachi students in particular. Thank you.
Congratulations and good luck. And third, we will recognize the Del Rio Middle School Gateway to Technology, Engineering, and Robotics Program, Mr. Roger Gonzalez.
Good evening, Mrs. Martinez, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. Middle school is a time of exploration, a time when students are figuring out what they're passionate about and how they relate to what they will become tomorrow. As part of the CT engineering pathway, students attending Del Rio Middle School are enrolled in the Project Lead the Way, or PLTW, and PLTW is a leading provider of rigorous, innovative science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM, education curricula programs used in middle and high schools across the United States. Today, we will provide you with examples of hands-on challenges that the Del Rio Middle School's Gateway students engaged in, and also their FTC robotics program. Here to give you some additional information is Mr. John Reed, our Del Rio Middle School GTT and robotics coach.
Dr. Rios, Madam President, member of the board. So I was asked to give a short slide presentation about the Gateway program. A lot of people don't know about the program at the middle school. They know about the robotics program, but they need to know that there's more. Gateway to Technology is part of the Project Lead the Way family. It's the middle school portion. It's the pathway where students start 7th and 8th grade. There's 6 independent courses over 9 weeks, very rigorous. It's all project-based learning. We've had it at Del Rio Middle School for the last 5 years. As a 7th graders, students get to take flight and space, science and technology, and energy.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I know there's parents and all that want to see, I think, their kids in the back there. If the robotics students can come on in up over here, and there's those parents that are in the back can move on in. I'm sorry, sir, go ahead.
That's okay. And at 7th grade, they actually get a half a high school credit. At 8th grade, they get to take design modeling, automation robotics, and magic of electrons, and then they earn another credit. So they'll actually get 1.5 credits. Here's just some sampling of some of the work that they do, whether it's soldering, 3D design, milling, making parts, Skyping with astronauts on the International Space Station, to competing in FTC. Through the last 5 years, over 450 students have gone through this program. And over the last 2 years, they've actually, 80+ students have gotten high school credit for this program. The last 4 years, the program has generated interest in robotics, and we've competed in FTC, First Tech Challenge. It's normally reserved for high school teams that can't compete
at the level our high school does financially. 4 years in a row, we've made it to the state level. This last year, which we're here to acknowledge, they finished 5th at the state level. The contest was held at Valero headquarters in San Antonio. 84 teams from our area, Lhasa, Vandergrift, Westlakes, sent their teams, and we finished 5th. We were the only non-Austin team being a captain in the semifinals. The rest of the teams were all Austin. We were the only non-Austin team in the semifinals. We were the only middle school team in the semifinals. So that speaks volumes of the program. So tonight we'd like to recognize and this program would not be possible without the support of Dr. Rios, the board, Mr. Limon, Mr. the secretary, the CTE department. We'd like to thank you for your support. Mr. Gonzalez.
Mr. Reed, congratulations for all of your hard work. A special thank you to the parents for all of their support. I know there's a lot of time spent that the students spend, so definitely do appreciate their support as well. I don't know how you're going to top it, but I have a feeling you will. So congratulations and keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you, students. On behalf of CTE, we would like to thank administration for the support of all the CTE programs. We will be bringing some more national and world competitors at the next board meeting. Thank you.
All right. Moving on to citizens to be heard. We have no one who is signed up. We'll move on to number 7, board members report. Josh Overfelt asked to address the elementary fine arts program. Josh?
Dr. Rios, Madam Secretary, thank you for allowing me to put this on the agenda there. And I know it is just a report and not intended as a discussion item there, so I'll just say what needs to be said on that, and then you can handle however from there. The reason I asked to go in and have this put on there was over the last 3 or 4 weeks there before spring break started especially, I had begun to receive multiple phone calls in relation to the elementary fine arts program. They're mainly music and art. And these rumors started to, or that were being relayed to me, basically centered around a very central theme there that was very concerning. Basically, is it true that the administration and or the school board is planning to eliminate music and arts programs and or the teachers in our elementary schools there? And I was really floored by that question being asked there. And I know other board members got those same calls there too. First of all, I don't know where and how that got started there. And before I elaborate more on that, if you allow me just some points of information on fine arts when it comes to the elementary setting there. There are numerous studies and papers and organizations out there that go in and talk about the extreme benefits of fine arts in the elementary setting. There are particularly music and art there, and just some highlights there. If we look at music, musical training there goes in and helps develop language and reasoning. There studies have shown that students have early musical training will develop the areas of the brain related to language and reasoning. There, mastery of memorization Students learn to improve their work, increased coordination, a sense of achievement. It allows kids to stay engaged in school, success in society, better SAT scores there, and many, many others there that come from different papers and publications there. Even KDISD, there on their website has a thing specifically that goes in and talks about the importance of fine arts education there. The arts reach students not normally reached and in ways and methods not normally used, and this helps to go in and reduce dropout rates there. It changes the learning environment to one of discovery there. It provides challenges to students of all levels there. It shows that fine arts positively impacts the learning of students of the lower socioeconomic status there. All sorts of positives that go in and exist there. Even today, there on Facebook, the Casa de Cultura went in and highlighted the art camps with Cardwell Head Start there that they had done at the pre-K level and published that. I don't have to look any further than the agenda here that we have today, and you can go in and see just in recognitions, item A, Garfield Art Club, and this stuff here, the stuff that's on our walls in this particular building there. Fine arts in the elementary setting, there are particularly arts and music. Studies show that it's crucial to the development of the young student and ultimately those that will go through the high school system there. If the administration does feel that it needs to look into reducing fine arts in the elementary schools, then I encourage the parents, the citizens, and teachers to join the committee that would ultimately be created to get feedback on that idea. However, I can speak to you right now that I will never support anything that looks to diminish the fine arts in elementary schools or in our district as a whole there. So it was getting to be something that was a little out of control in the community, and I wanted to go in and say, don't know how that got started. I'm sure a bunch of us up here would not, I can't speak for y'all, but would not want that to go in and happen there. So that's what I wanted to say on that, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Overfelt.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I concur with Mr. Overfelt, and I'll be quite frank, I couldn't draw a picture to save my life, and nobody would want to hear me sing, so it's, I can't be called a great patron of the arts, but I think he's spot on with the importance of the fine arts, the reason that we have it. I've heard those rumors as well, and never quite know exactly what to do with rumors. I'm not sure where they're coming from, but I certainly would hate to see any significant paring down of the fine arts in the elementary. We focus on the hard sciences, business and math, but it's the fine arts that make all of that worthwhile. I mean, it's an appreciation and a well-rounded person that comes out of it. So my question would be, and not to create a long, elaborate discussion, is what exactly is being discussed by the administration as far as elementary fine arts? I mean, what's causing this discussion out there?
Sure, Dr. Rios.
Thank you. The district engaged in some strategic planning beginning in the month of February. What was, we brought a group of parents and teachers and even some board members together to talk about where the district was going to go as a whole. And if y'all will remember, I asked each of y'all to nominate a community member or sit on the committee yourselves. Ms. Haynes and Mr. Chavira were present, and we started by looking at what we call the foundation school programs. That's just the terminology we use to talk about how we service students, and we shared with the committee that the following piece, or part two of the strategic development process, would be to consider our marquee programs, which include fine arts, which includes GT, which includes our pre-AP and our advanced courses, and just everything else that the district does that adds value. And we shared with them, just as an introductory, that we wholeheartedly believe in fine arts. Everything that Mr. Overfelt said, I don't think there's any piece that any of us would disagree with. However, there is only so much time in the day, and the parents particularly were encouraged to come back to the committee to fully understand, what we as a community, not as a group of administrators or as a group of teachers, but as a community, what do we value and what do we want to employ our time with? We would never, under any circumstances, encourage doing away with fine arts. We believe that it's important. Now, I did make the comment that music is very hard to teach, and that I just cannot imagine doing away with music, because we can't have a teacher with a regular certification teach music. It's just requires a different skill set. But that there was ways to consider on how to service everything else. So really, I just wanted to share with the committee that there would be options that would be discussed, but that the committee primarily made up of parents would have their voices heard and encourage them to come back, and that we would solicit other participation. But it was discussed as one of the marquee programs, that there was a community of members out there. There was other concerns that came out of the meeting. When I talked about revamping the GT program, some of the immediate discussions, rumors that came out was that GT teachers were going to lose their job. That's ridiculous. That's a distraction. We would never think of doing away with GT. We would never think of away with doing fine arts. But we do have to consider, what we do with the school day. And that's up for discussion. But again, it's not the teachers that are going to decide. It's not the administrators that's going to decide. It's the community that comes together. So I look forward to some deeper discussions in April and having the committee make a recommendation. As a matter of fact, the recommendation, as far as the strategic development process goes, that recommendation will come to the board for approval. So you don't have to worry about the committee making a decision for the district. The committee will make a recommendation that will result in specific plans that we will then present to the board for for approval. But we're very far from that process. We're very far from it. I think that it is premature to start worrying about what we're going to cut back or not cut back on. It is not premature to know that we do have to have a whole lot of discussions around a lot of the programs. Part 3 and Part 4 of the committee will deal with facilities to service these programs and ultimately funding of these programs. So we're a long ways away from it, but I'm glad that we're engaged in a strategic development process. That's thanks to that grant that we applied for 2 years ago and received. But that's how it started. To answer your question, Mr. Garabedian.
Contagious.
Always calls me over. Madam Chairman?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chavita.
He was.
Okay. Mr. Mesa?
I wanted to echo the same sentiments. I think this board is united in a lot of ways in doing proactive things for our students. Certainly fine arts is a great program. As an educator, I saw lots of students turn around, from being disruptive into, being those students that excelled because of the praise that they received. And not only that, a lot of awards. You can see the type of artwork that we have here. We have received numerous awards. They were from middle school, high school, but it all starts at the elementary level. And it's a program that's surely needed. I sure would be one that would follow along with my colleagues here in saying that this program is essential and there's no way that we would cut it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chavita.
I just wanted to mention that I was at that two-day meetings that we had, Ms. Haynes, myself, a lot of parents, but I just want to mention also that we had some students involved in that. And I was very proud of them, the way they conducted themselves and the way they contribute to the process. And I, for one, the same way. I feel fine arts, even though I remember hiring Mr. Nunez, or recommended that he be hired many years back, like in '85, something like that. And one of the things that I told him, I says, "Hey, listen, I'm a football player. I'll always be one. My education came from there. I was able to get a scholarship, and so I like Ben. I'm one of those guys that didn't learn how to play anything because I had a choice. You either play football or you play band. And I told him, you must let football players be in your band and participate. And I think he remembers that. So I'm all for fine arts, and definitely so is Dr. Rios. I'm sure that all of us are going to be in support of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chavita. Amy, did you want to add something?
I also, like Mr. Chavita said, and Dr. Rios as well, is that I did sit on the committee, and the plan is, it's a well sought out plan. And what I like about it is it gives the community and the parents some input as well. So that's where we need to focus on, stay focused on, is the parents and the community and the teachers. So I do agree with my counterparts that fine arts is very important, and we're not looking to eliminate anything.
Well, thank you. I think, Dr. Rios, you know where the board stands. Definitely supportive of fine arts. Definitely would be interested in perhaps adding to our meetings every month, just an update when you have those meetings so that we are kind of kept in the loop, and so that the community is also kept in the loop in public. So that we can kind of dispel some of those rumors that are out there. Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Oberfeld, for bringing that topic up. Okay, on to reports. We have attendance and the discipline report, the fourth 6 weeks. I think by now we know that typically we receive that information in our packet. Does anyone wish to have discussion? Dr. Garza, it looks like Mr. Mesa has some questions for you.
Sir, my questions again are going to deal with high school. I'm truly concerned, with the attendance dropping. I can see it from month to month, and I address it, and, plans have been presented to us, but yet I see the decrease still continuing. And evidently, the process of the programs that are presented are not being effective. You compare it from year to year, it's obvious. I'm truly concerned with that. I think the only one I've never seen before where Cardwell does better than high school. Until this month, the only program that is lower than high school is the Blended Academy.
Yes, sir. And you're right, there is some significant issues there with 92%, 92.23. I'm not going to stand up here and give you excuses, sir, but one of the biggest differences this year is that we have been limited in sending students to the court. We have not been able to do that. There has been some conversations on it, but we have not been able to have some consequences on students that have an attendance problem. So that could contribute to the actual percentages that we have right now, because we have not sent any students, from what I understand, to court.
Well, sir, I mean, that's a law now. It's a bill that was introduced. Truancy is not a crime anymore. So, I mean, that's not going to be a solution. The solution is going to come from within the school, not out there in the courts. That's too late.
I understand, sir. And we will continue working to try to figure out how to alleviate that problem by not counting on the court, just like you're saying. But right now, it is an issue, sir.
Dr. Rios.
So if I may add, I think that your concern, Mr. Mesa, is on point. I think the rest of the board has the same concern. We need to improve our attendance. That's clear, Mr. Mesa. But there are two things that I also want to point out that I think are fair to point out. Not to disparage anybody prior to the current high school administration or anywhere else other than the high school, but the reality is that the infrastructure that we put in place requires us to be a whole lot more transparent and make sure that we are absolutely clear on who's present and who's absent. And just like we go after those kids to be in school, we go after those records to make sure that on a daily basis, we count kids absent if they are in fact absent. And we've gone to greater depths to verify that kids are actually present or absent. And I think that has to account for some of the reporting. I think that we are catching more kids absent because of the process that we've set in place before. That doesn't mean that we don't have to improve attendance. We do have to improve attendance. But I also want to be clear that that the process that we have in place with Michelle Smith and with Dr. Zuniga and everybody else seeks to find more kids being absent so that we report accurately to the state and not have to come back later and pay back. And then the second part is that even though we have to make improvements, and we recognize that, we also want to point out that in comparison to other groups, as we've reported from what TA reports, we continue to do as well as most. And again, that's not an excuse, and it's not one of those, we're okay, we know we need to do better. I just want us to be clear that we do work to find kids that are truly absent, and that has to account for some of the decline. Now, having said all that, we do have to do a better job. That's clear, and we don't miss that important point.
And my point is not to single out one factor. I think my concern is credit recovery. As you well know, we're having more and more graduations in the summer after the first graduation, which is supposed to be the biggest one. And yet, we're extending the summer to have those students come in. But the fact is, we're delaying these students to either start their life, go out and do what they need to do, either military or college bound, or, go out in the workforce. But it's the credits that they're losing. They're not in school. They're not receiving an education. Now, I find Dr. Rios' response unacceptable because, I know, you look at the campus plans, 95% is a target, 95% attendance, and yet it keeps going down and down. We're at 92. And it's happening, not this month, it's happening every month.
I understand that you don't agree with what he's saying, sir. Well, one other thing that's also influential to that percentage decrease is also the 72 19-year-old kids that we did not have last year. It sounds like an excuse, sir, but we do have more students at our high school.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Chavito.
I know it's a hard thing. I was at the high school 5 years, and there's so many variables, and the big one is the parents. I don't care what we do, we need to get the parents involved. They need to make sure that those kids get to the school. I know they drive and no telling where they go. I'm sure that they're not staying home, they're going somewhere. I hate to think that the parents would let them stay home and do anything. But on the other hand, I sure would like to start some kind of a project or some kind of a program, rather, that we involve our parents and tell them that, they really are the ones that can push them. Us, we can only come up here and ask them and talk to them and consult with them and show them what, but they need to get up and come to school. So I think we need to, I hate to say it, but our parents need to help us out.
Thank you, Mr. Chavito.
And I'm sure that they're listening right now, and I hope that they take that into account. And I'm not trying to criticize them. All I'm saying is somebody's got to do it. And they must start at home.
Madam Chairman, I have a question for either Dr. Garza or Dr. Rios. And of course, I walked out, so if it was answered, just say so, and I'll drop it. But like Mr. Mesa says, we have this pattern, right, of decline. I understand that the recording of the attendance is better, so you're saying that, might be part of it or is part of it. But over this last year, or it probably tracks back a little bit more than a year, what's been done in terms of interventions, innovative interventions, to move the needle the right way on attendance? What are you doing at the campus level?
Well, sir, we do have some plans in action where there is several people involved, including the counselors, including the assistant principals, including the parent liaison people. There is a pathway for us to pay attention to these kids that are absent. Unfortunately, it's the last factor would be the consequence, which is not there. So there is one in between, which is the counseling component, which is what Mr. Chavira is talking about. How do we make sure that and convince students that this is the right course of action for them to be there? That's one. The second thing is make sure that if they are absent, that we bring them back to the credit recovery that Mr. Metz is talking about. So those are all consequences of them being absent. So there is several people within the time frame for them to have conversations with to make sure that they are at school. So there is some counseling that takes place when they see students that have more than 9 absences.
But isn't that basically the same that we heard a year ago? I mean, I'm not sure where the innovation is in that.
That is what we have right now. I'm not sure if you're asking, can we improve it? Of course, just like Dr. Rio said.
Well, no, I know moving forward it needs to be improved, but, and someone jump up and say I'm wrong, maybe my memory's faulty, but a year and a half ago, the same questions were asked, the same answers were given. So what innovative, what new has been done to move attendance in the better direction, positive direction? I understand counselors are more involved or the assistant principal, but that to me seems like standard operating procedure. How is that innovative?
Well, sir, I don't know if you call it innovative or not, but we do have a plan and we're doing things to make sure that we bring kids in. Innovative meaning that we do something above and beyond of what we have right now. Well, we plan for it, but right now what you're asking is there anything else above and beyond? Well, I'm sure that there's more conversations with the students that are absent, that have constant attendance problems, and it does not just happen at the high school. It happens prior to that, especially at elementary, because all these kids that have an attendance problem at the high school are the same kids that have attendance problems at the elementary. And going back to Mr. Chavira's point, it's the parent involved, making sure that they are actually going, and they form a process for them to be at school. So the innovative part is how do we go back and make sure that parental involvement is more part of the solution. So I don't have an answer. If that's not answering your question, sir, we have a plan and we are trying our best to make sure that our kids are coming to school.
Well, I don't doubt your efforts. It just seems like we're stuck in the same meeting from a year ago or a year and a half ago, the same questions and the same answers. That's what I don't understand. I mean, it's almost like we're having the same meeting over and over.
Exactly.
Thank you, Mr. Garabedian. Mr. Chavira.
Dr. Garza, how do we, or we keep in touch with the parents? I know it's, if you call them and et cetera, do we have anything documented that says that you've been warned and this type of thing about losing the credit? Do we send letters to them?
Yes, of
What's the
course,
communication between the school and the parent?
The first thing that goes out is an automatic call. Every day there's an automatic call, but that's not the only thing that happens. The other thing that happens is a teacher reports that there's attendance problems. So the second person that gets involved is the parent liaison. So there is documentation there that they're actually taking action to make sure that that kid is in school. The fourth part is the counselor. So there's also documentation on that sheet where there's actually conversations with the student. And the last one is the assistant principal, the principal. So there's documentation all over the place in constant communication with a parent that is willing to help us out. Because a lot of the times, there is no one at home that can help us out.
Have we ever had a meeting with the parents?
Oh, yes.
I'm talking about as a group to tell them, hey, listen, look at the size of the problem that we have.
You mean as a parent group?
Yes. You don't call them like you do for a meeting. You know, hey, listen, look at the size of the problem, just so that they can see. Some of them might not be aware that we have so many students absent and that it's causing the school a lot of problems. They're causing the students a lot of problems. They don't go to school, they don't learn.
Now, sir, no, I wouldn't be able to answer that if there is a parent meeting for those students that are having attendance problems, but me being at the high school for 7 years, I would see a big problem bringing even those parents in, because even some parent...
Why would it be a problem?
Because they don't come, sir. I mean, we have meetings...
It?
No, I'm saying that we have, I don't know if we have tried or not. I'm just giving my opinion of the years of experience that I've been there, because we do have parent meetings, and usually there's about 20 parents that show up. But of course, we can try that too.
The reason I'm saying is that some of them might not realize that the big problem that we have, can you imagine, how many students are absent per day on the average?
Well, if it's 92%, I would say 8%. That would be about
60?
About 150 kids.
That's a lot of students. I'm saying, but I venture to say that 80% of them are the same.
Yes, sir, and that is true. 80% of them are going to be the same students, and a lot of them are 19-year-old kids.
One more thing,
Mr. Mesa, please.
Sir, you know, again, you heard from Mr. Garabedian, and it's the same thing. Something more aggressive needs to be done to monitor this problem before it becomes 91 next month. Because we're getting the same verbiage. We're doing something new, different, yet the results are not there. It's not successful. That needs to change.
Yes, sir.
I do have a comment. I too am concerned about the ongoing decrease. I know that you put in additional processes to follow up with the student parent. That is probably been over a year at least. I don't know if Dr. Sally's here or not. Oh, it's been at least a year, right? So obviously, it hasn't been as effective as we hoped. So maybe it's time to go back and revisit and say, okay, this didn't really pan out as well as we thought it would. What else can we do? I don't have a magic key to make it work, but there has to be something else out there to help the children, the students, the parents recognize that it is important that their child comes to school. Other than the counseling, and we're talking about counseling from within, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I know that Linking Tree is gone, but do we access perhaps BCFS?
Yes, ma'am, we do. That is part of the process too. If there is a family that's having problems, or there is a student that's having problems,
If
they're having problems,
Well, obviously, it's a problem. I mean, I think if a student's not coming, period,
It depends on the conversations that the counselor has with the student and the parent, and that's what triggers it to bring in other people from the community.
what percentage of our kids get referred to BCFS?
I wouldn't be able to answer that, ma'am.
5%, 10%? Just a guess.
Dr. Barrera would have that answer.
Less than 5%, but we do have a lot of kids referred.
Okay. I just think we need to be a little more innovative. We need to look at something else that's going to help these students. I mean, the reality is, it's not about them being absent. It's about them not being there to learn.
Yes, ma'am.
And, I mean, we're all on the same page, that we want what's best for the students. And I hear what you're saying. The parent engagement is key. But how do we engage them?
No, I understand, and I'm sure Dr. Rios is going to task me with trying to figure out what is the next step, and I don't want to speak for him, but I know him, so I'll let him address that.
Dr. Rios?
There's a few things that I want to just make abundantly clear to everyone, not necessarily to the board, but to everybody, and particularly the principals and the teachers. Dr. Adams said the high school showed a decline of how many points from last year at this time to now?
I would say about
Just give me the percentages, I can't.
93.72 last year and 92.23 this year.
Okay, so,
About 1.3, 1.4, 1.
okay, it's roughly about 1%.
1.49.
Okay. 0.9?
1.49.
1.49, okay. I understand that 1.49 would be what I would consider a significant decrease, and we do have to work on it. And when we talk about innovative programs, there are programs out there that we can absolutely look at. But clearly, the focus from last year to this year was on enforcing some of the programs and making sure that our attendance accountability was enacted. I personally went to every single campus in the district, and I tasked the principals and the teachers with accurate attendance. And I understand, particularly principals, that when the board speaks on concerns that we have to improve on, you feel it and you want to respond to it. But I want to caution you about inflated reports on attendance. I took tremendous amount of time to go to every campus and warn you about appropriately coding your attendance and talked about the consequences that would happen. We need to solve a problem, but we don't take shortcuts. And that needs to be clear. Do not focus on the pressure, rather focus on the support that we have to build together. We'll solve it and we'll answer it and we'll come up with a solution and we'll do it together. But not a single teacher or a single principal should think that a shortcut is a solution so that you don't feel that pressure. That has to be clear. It's on us, it's on Dr. Garza, Aida Garcia, myself, the rest of the team and the principals to come up with an innovative program. But if you take a shortcut, you're going to be shortchanging everybody in your organization and, more importantly, yourself. And that needs to be clear.
I definitely agree with that. So we know you will be working on making improvements. I think you know it's important to all of us, especially those students.
Madam Chairman, just one more question. Where are the parental aides in all of this?
They are part of that.
Are they making the home visits?
Yes, sir.
Are the home visits being made this last semester more in number than, say, a year ago?
I don't have those numbers, sir, but the first question that you ask, are they contacting parents? Are they going to
their
actual
houses?
homes? Yes, definitely, they are out there.
But we don't know if they're actually going out more.
I don't have those numbers in front of me, sir, but I can actually bring him and next board meeting, or I can actually give him to Dr. Rios and see if he can provide two.
I'm just curious. I mean,
I don't know, sir.
I know in the past, from what I've heard, and by the past I mean 5-10 years ago, parental aides were instrumental in going out to the homes, and there have been questions, I think, about how much they're being used in the last couple of years.
They are going, if not daily, every other day. I know that. I mean, I'm at campuses and I do see them going on trips. I do sign a lot of travel for them, so I do see them actually traveling, going to houses or homes. But I don't have the numbers that you're asking me for. No, sir.
We'll go to you, sir.
Thank you. I would anticipate that we see an increase because we see an increase in absenteeism.
That's what I'm wondering, right? I mean, if you have parental aides and they're being used, if there are X amount of home visits in academic year 2014, 2015, and attendance has declined in the year after that, you would expect that there'd be more home visits. That's what I'm curious about.
Sounds logical, sir.
Okay, any more on attendance? All right, what about the second part of that report, which is the discipline? Any comments? I do have one question, if no one else has comment. Where do we report bullying?
That is
Under which column?
insubordination. It would be
Insubordination?
21 or 40, local 40, but it's actually 21. And let me make sure that, what is Smith here? I do believe it's code 21, but we do list it as local 40.
Do you understand what it means by local 40?
The code's down here.
Okay.
I don't know how they're assigned, but, okay. Thank you. I'm glad that they're being tracked,
Yes, ma'am.
because we should have zero tolerance for bullying.
Of course not.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. Garza. Next, Facilities and Construction Report, Israel Carrera.
Madam President, Superintendent Dr. Rios, members of the board, I have a short update on the projects. First one up here, we have the Del Rio Blended Academy construction. They've taken down the canopy and they've taken out the portable. They demoed the portable during spring break. They've taken down the canopies up in the far upper left-hand corner. That's a front view, a lot better view with that portable gone. Then the inside are the framings that they've begun on the inside. Career and Technical Education Center under construction. On the top left-hand corner, you'll see that's the welding part. The middle picture on the upper top, that's the electrical trades and carpentry. On the upper right-hand corner, those are the classrooms going into the classrooms to the auto mechanics and welding. And on the left-hand side, those are the robotics classrooms on the left, hallway. In the middle, of course, is your front entrance, and then the bottom right is the auto mechanics outside the shop.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Sir, could you go back to that? The bottom picture on the left-hand side?
On the left hand?
Yes, bottom picture.
Yes, sir.
I went by, several weeks ago. There was a complete wall that side of the building, okay? Cinder block from all the way to the bottom, all the way to the top. The following week, it was torn down. What in the world happened there?
In what area, sir?
That area, right, that picture right there.
Okay.
On the 10th floor?
On the side,
Side?
yeah.
On the outside?
It seemed like a structural wall, sir. They had already started putting the outside material that looks like
Yes, sir.
a brick.
Yes, sir. I did get that from JP Jr., and he had told me they had to redo it because there were some concerns on the way it was going up, and it was cracked, so they had to redo it, had to rebuild that wall, the center block.
Well, I don't see that wall up anymore.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
It seemed like there was an open area that was closed off.
And it's on the auto mechanics shop or the robotics side?
Whatever that bottom picture is.
It's
The side
robot, but
facing the
there's,
bank,
there,
right?
The bank?
The side facing the bank
Yes.
is what I thought it was.
facing the what?
The bank.
The front of the building's here, this side, the one facing the
10th Street.
to the street, right across from the Pico building, office building.
I don't.
Parallel to Main Street as well.
It's the
Okay.
east side of the
Main
building.
Street.
Yeah, yes. East,
On-
there you go, east, it would be east.
The east side of the building.
It's on this side. You see that little thing? It's on this
Or it's not painted? Is that,
No, you see that building there? It's on this side.
Madam
I'm not.
Madam President, Mr. President,
sir.
rather than try to guess, here's what I think we should do. I think that Israel and myself will go back and visit with either the architects or the contractor, but there's a couple of things that should be a sense of relief. One is that if it went down, more than likely, the architect or the contractor held the subcontractor to a higher standard because it wasn't done right, and one of them directed them to redo it. And two, and just as important, it's not an expense to the district because we didn't make the mistake. It's an expense either to the contractor or the subcontractor. And in that case, we would not lose money, and we certainly wouldn't award time lost for something that they had to redo. But as to the specifics of the question, I think that Mr. Carrera needs to go back and do some research and provide us a detailed report that I'll pass on to you.
Well, by the same token, though, I question is because if you have the plans and it's an open area and it was closed off, would you not be able to tell?
Well, not always. I mean, there's sometimes that there's questions even as we built that has been brought to my attention by some of the, I'll put for one's Mr. Townsend in the welding shop that he has seen, and then we had to go back and correct that.
And there's several reasons, you know, that being one.
Yes.
Two, it looked like a structural wall. Now, there were some cinder blocks that were left in the center. The rest, in my opinion, is supposed to be open, and they closed it off. But one, you know, do we not have someone in your office that can read plans and say, hey, something's wrong before something like this occurs?
I think that our bi-weekly meetings, we do address all those concerns.
And the other thing is, you know, we have a date that I think all of us are coming to pretty much depend on that end date.
Yes, sir.
That it gets done. And then something like this happens, and I'm thinking, is it going to set us off? My other question was, and it was answered, whose expense is it going to be? Contractor or ours? It was answered.
Correct.
But I'm still concerned with those two other areas. And that's for Dr. Rios. So.
Okay, we'll look into it. Student Activity Center. On the top left-hand corner, I think that is on the Cardwell side of the entrance, on the side entrance. Of course, the center picture is the Garfield, I'm sorry. They just poured the concrete on the front of the entrance. They poured it on Thursday, I think, when they poured that. And there'll be a layered step going up to that front entrance. And that was the first layer. Then on the top right hand is the upstairs going towards the superintendent's office. The tile floor has been laid just about all on the top level on the main hallway. Of course, on the bottom left is the windows. They've dressed all those up, and then they're going to paint the rest of the inside. Where you see the wood, it'll be white. And then the middle section is the auditorium, the back of the auditorium. They're starting to lay the ceiling grids, to lay the ceiling tiles and the lights. And then the bottom is another picture of the hallway upstairs with all that brown is covering the tile that has been laid. These are our Student Activity Center project milestones that we have so far. The transformer installation has been completed, and then the completion of all sheetrock has been completed. A lot of the other stuff has been started, but has not been completed. And that is all I have. If there's any other questions?
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr.
a
Garrett.
question not relative to your presentation. The bathroom at Cardwell,
Yes, sir. They started, I asked before we went on spring break because it hadn't started, and I know that the board had approved that, but they have started. They've taken all the first wing, I think it's they've taken all the toilets and the urinals and all that out, and so I did take pictures, but I didn't present it today because it wasn't, to me, sufficient advance, and they just started on that one bathroom so far.
When will it be done?
I don't have that with me, but I can get that to you.
Am I totally confused, or has it been drawn out over a long period of time?
It does appear like
Right?
it's been
Over a long period of
long
time.
time.
I mean, I'm not quite sure what's taking so long. I know a month or so ago, we approved on the consent agenda fixtures, bathroom fixtures, which I believe were for that bathroom. We've been, and maybe I'm wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, we've been, and I say we, because I know Mrs. Lozano, Ms. Haynes, and myself especially have been asking about this bathroom, that it was going to be done, and then it wasn't going to be done, and now here we are, and we're still waiting. How big is this bathroom?
Well, there's several bathrooms. It's 5, if I remember correctly, and it's a men's and women's bathroom for the kids. And I know that when I talked to Mr. Garcia, I was wanting to know what was taking so long, and one of the problems was the ordering of the material. I know that has taken some time. In fact, I read an email today about the partitions and stuff. And so the gentleman and the companies that ordered the material didn't order it until it was approved, and then that's all I have right now, that one of the parts was that it just taking so long for them to get the material in.
If I may add, Madam President, these bathrooms did come in significantly over budget from what we had allotted. So the bids that came in were few, and they were over what we had budgeted. So then we came back to cabinet, and I think that there was a purchase, there was an amendment, I think that was approved last month, or 2 months ago, and we were able to move. But there's a couple of things that have been delaying it. It's been awarded, it's underway, and I'm sure that by next month, there'll be significant improvement when we make the presentation.
Any other questions? No? Thank you, Mr. Carrera. All right, next on the agenda is the Emergency Management Report, Mr. John Sheedy.
Madam President, board members, Superintendent Rios, staff, and guests. My name is John Sheedy, the Director of Emergency Operations, and this evening we were going to go through just kind of an update as to where we are on our ongoing components related to emergency operations. Briefly, these are the things we'll kind of look at. Our emergency operations plans we've spoken about before. Our emergency drills, the conducting and reporting of those drills, our training, weather monitoring, something else that's new that we haven't really spoken about, fire inspections, and very briefly, playground inspections. The first thing we'll talk about is emergency operations plans. This is our third year to develop our emergency operations plans. We now have 14 campus plans. We've added the blended academy and 1 district plan. And these plans are updated. We've spoken before how we send them out to staff at the campus level. They update them and they return them to us. This is our district plan. More comprehensive in that it represents all campuses. Each campus is in here. And there are a few other components that aren't listed in the district plan that we find in this plan. Next, of course, we have, these are our 14 campus EOPs that we've spoken about, and we'll look at one that we haven't seen, blended. Of course, there's Blended Academy. Ms. Mota and her staff gave us all the information so we could update this plan, create this new plan for them, and so that is in place. These plans were, I believe, distributed. We hosted them on end of October is, I believe, when we got them hosted. But like I say, each campus has its own specific plan. A new thing that we've done that we're kind of excited about, early on, I wish we had kind of worked on this a little bit sooner, kind something that I should have been on earlier, but we developed a new weather evacuation plan for the stadium. And there's several components to it. We tried to make a flow chart where we can step right through this flow chart, where everybody can look at, what's going on with the lightning, if there's a severe weather watch, what you do in the event of watches, what happens when you have weather conditions actually occurring, and then what happens when we have weather warnings issued. And this will step us all through that process, both internally and externally. It's quite involved, but it's not as complicated as it looks. This is the plan that was put together by the high school, and you can see the administrators and the group that they're responsible for evacuations. For example, Bell's Cheerleaders, Student Council, and ROTC. We have Ms. Millender responsible for them. We talk about where they evacuate to, who's in charge, and so there's several groups in here, and everybody's been very helpful. We've updated this probably 3 or 4 times, and we'll keep that updated. Here's just another component. This just talks about it in a different context, some evacuation operations about what we look at to evacuate, how we begin those evacuations, and just kind of some background on evacuations. These are some pre-game that we put together, some releases. And we've already used these at some games. If there's the potential for some weather moving through, we're wanting to go ahead and acknowledge that right away. We have in our announcer address pregame that there may be a situation and what we do if there's lightning and how we'll evacuate. So we kind of talk about that. And again, here's their sample dialogue that they would actually use in the event that we needed to start evacuations. And then the very last, because we also distribute this to our outside partners, are our primary numbers here for school. We have the school district, the chief of police, the school police, the chief of police, myself, and then of course superintendent. And so that's very useful. And we'll continue to keep updating that as we move forward as well. Of course, there's a stadium evacuation plan now. Talk about our drills. This is something that you've seen this before. This is something we've updated just briefly. We try to keep this very simple. What an evacuation is: reverse evacuation, lock in or lock down, shelter in place, and severe weather. We talk about the things in green that you do pre-event, and we talk about things that you do for a drill. So we try to capture it all in one place so that everybody can kind of understand it. This is a sample, just again briefly, of where a campus logs their drills. You can see in this campus in particular, Lamar, they've logged all fire drills through March, and they logged their lockdowns here. They've logged a couple of severe weather. She's logged a shelter in place and a reverse evacuation. So that's what the campus is. That's the form they complete. This is the comprehensive form that we maintain, and we present this to cabinet occasionally. And at the end of the month, cabinet goes through this, and if there's anybody we need to kind of move forward on. Right now, we're 100%. Everybody is. We haven't missed any fire drills. We have a little bit of leeway on some of our drills, so we can shuffle those from month to month if we need to, and that does happen occasionally. But everybody's doing a wonderful job on all their drills. They're keeping them, all their reporting, and they're doing their after-action reviews. They're doing a wonderful job, so we thank them for that. We talk about training. Training, we look at the campus. Of course, our training is just basically our emergency drills. That's how our students and our staff, that's really the biggest part of training they get. We do orientation and ongoing presentations to campus staff, typically at the beginning of the year. Principals and assistant principals, I visited with them at the principals retreat, and also administration allowed me to have, I think, 2.5 or 3 hours where I worked with all the principals and assistant principals. We had quite an agenda. We went through everything related to emergency operations, emergency management, and things like that. So it was very helpful for us. And we also talk about our single point. We've been doing some training and review on our single point security access features. We've talked about NIMS before. We maintain a district employee listing for NIMS. We coordinate, schedule, monitor, and report that NIMS training because we are required to have that. We do continue our school safety and security committee meetings. We're attempting to have 2 to 3 of those meetings annually. We do we have agendas, sign-in sheets. They're very, very useful, and that's where the campuses can kind of bring up any security concerns or that they may have. Been very beneficial. Exercises, tabletops. I've spoken about this facilitating with campuses, and then a functional exercise. And this is where, this has been, I'll admit, the hardest thing for me to really kind of wrap around this, and it's nobody's fault. It's just, it's so difficult to find time to get into those campuses and work with them. They're all very, very excited, and they anticipate they want to work on it. And of course, we have a lot of phone conversations. We kind of go through things. But actually finding the time with them to go through some of these tabletops has been a little bit difficult. But I think we've got a good foundation. Now with Chief Maldonado in there, he's been very encouraging. We've actually had 3 meetings with area law enforcement to talk about school violence. We've been working towards a 4th meeting. Hopefully that will all result in a functional exercise this summer. So we'll have our first kind of a large-scale functional exercise. But again, with Chief Maldonado in place now, and I think we're going to have the tools next year that we can just really get in there and schedule some of these tabletops at campus a little more than we've been able to do. Here's just our NIMS, our ongoing. If you remember, we've got almost everybody has taken one or both of the courses. All of our administrators, we update this constantly with any changes. So these are principals and assistant principals that are taking the advanced NIMS training. This is just a sample of our school security, and I apologize you can't read it, but some of the issues we talk about that they bring forward and we discuss, and then what action that we're going to take. So at our school safety and security committee meetings, the principals or their assistant principal attend, and they bring those issues up that they would like to discuss. One of the things I'm really excited about, and this is a tool that I had used during my years at the city as emergency management coordinator, and I was fortunate enough they allowed me to budget it last year, is it used to be called DTN, and then it was Meteorologics. Now it's Schneider Electric. So this has been working really wonderful for us. We have students that are traveling, and we have, let me see. This is how we're monitoring kind of the weather, and this is real time. And so, for example, Friday we had several text messages going. I was in communication with bus drivers from Laredo with Coach Smith. I know we visited with Coach Smith quite a bit. We had bus drivers, Ms. Millender, Ms. Martinez was on a different van. We spoke to all those drivers. We're able to monitor their weather as they're coming back. Wherever our buses are traveling from, we're receiving a report that gives us all the travel for our students and staff, where they're going. And so then we monitor that, whether it's weekend or night. And in that case, coming back from the other night, coming back from Laredo, there was some really, really severe storms that were rolling across 277. And we were able to kind of monitor those storms and stay in communication with our travelers. This is a lightning ring. You'll see that when our games, for example, any of our athletic events, I know some of the trainers now, Brad Dixon, I know utilize this quite frequently. But we monitor this lightning ring. And this yellow ring is a 30-mile radius. So typically, no matter what's going on, based on the list that I get of especially any outdoor activities, I'm sitting in my computer monitoring this. And we start seeing lightning in this zone, and we're just, of course, heads up to whoever's out there in the field. Now, once we get a strike inside our 8-mile, that's our warning zone, and that's when we're supposed to take cover. It's really the same thing. They use lightning detectors out in the field. You can use the flash to bang method. It all results in the same thing. Once you have lightning in this area is when we need to take cover. For example, a couple months back, we had a scrimmage or something going on, and I was able to actually, I think somebody said I was actually able to find the lightning strikes. There was 3 of them over on Barbara Lane. So it's very, very accurate. It's very real time, and it's just extremely useful for us to use that tool. But of course, we can see just real quick. I know taking time, but it has real time radar and warnings. We have a dashboard. Right now, we have a wind monitor warning. Here's our lightning strikes down here. So typically during the day, and even again in the evenings after hours, I send out messages to those people that need to have them. But we send them out during the day if we have lightning, so that all administrators receive them. We send out a daily weather forecast so they can kind of look at their hourly forecast. So this has been very helpful, and I think we're very fortunate to have this, to utilize this, And it's exciting to know. I think that the other night when we had kind of that storm going through and we cut it very close, of course, there were some very serious storms that were moving this direction that that the city was watching and the county was watching. And we were able to kind of fine tune and didn't interrupt our game as much as possibly it would have. But this is just a very useful tool, and I think we're fortunate to have it. So I just wanted to briefly show y'all that. Here again, one of the other two things we're tasked with are fire inspections. We're always working on fire inspections, reviewing. A lot of these things look worse than they are. This next year, I know with Mr. Carrera and Chief Maldonado, we're going to put in a whole new process at the beginning of the year to go through all of the campuses. We're going to get into a couple teams. We're going to go through, and I think we're going to be able to solve a lot of these little minor issues so that we won't have to bother campus and interrupt them during the rest of the year. But this kind of nothing, a lot of them aren't as bad as they look. It's just mostly housekeeping. And then finally, playgrounds. We do our quarterly playground inspections. I want to say that special thanks to Mr. Carrera, Scott, and Mr. Garcia. They have all these things that we're looking at right now, except for some of the structural stuff. They have been these playgrounds, they have done an amazing job of getting everything caught up. So it's extremely impressive. I wished I had actually put the one in here because they put one together where it showed everything was repaired. They've corrected all these things. So it's very exciting that we're having such luck there. But so the playgrounds are going. So again, 14 campuses now, and it seems like we're moving forward, and that was just a brief update. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sheedy. That was a great report. Mr. Mesa?
I have a question, Mr. Sheedy. At the middle school, Del Rio Middle School, I know that there was a concern with disabled either people that were going to activities in the field or students, because it was such a long distance. The sidewalks are very long. They have to park in the parking areas, and it wasn't very friendly for people on wheelchairs or motorized scooters, whatever you want to call them. And so my question is, if there's an evacuation, is there an alternate plan for these students that need to be, let's say, an evacuation, swift evacuation?
There should be. Each campus, sir, we have a special needs list. At each one of those campus plans, there's special needs and kind of who's responsible to assist with those special needs. So those students are already identified at the campus level. I know Dr. Aguirre has worked very close with us to maintain that we keep those lists current. There certainly would be somebody that would be paying attention to all special needs during the event that there was some evacuation or some need to assist them.
Yeah, let's say that they're out there in the field for physical ed, and there's an evacuation. So there's one adult assigned for every student that would go and get this student to a vehicle?
I think more than likely what would happen is if, again, once there was an evacuation, of course, it's easier if it's just at that one campus because they activate their emergency response team. At the campus level first, they would start who they could use at that campus that could help them maybe accomplish that task. But we would also be at the district level, we would be receiving word that they had some issue, that they had some need to evacuate, and we would also be sending additional whatever staff that we could find to respond there as rapidly as possible to help them. I think we would be able to, of course, barring some overwhelming event that gave us very little time, I think we would be able to.
Yeah, and the question, because the sidewalks are so long leading to the field, and the parking is so far, and that's why I asked that question, because I know that people that would go to football games, they would complain that we have to either, use our crutches all the way over there. There was no parking for these people that had disabilities closer to the field, other than around the cafeteria or the staff parking.
And that's a good question. Of course, we'll get with Superintendent, with Dr. Rios and maybe Mr. Carrera, and see if there's some way we could maybe fashion some access or some.
So has there been any other parking closer to the field now? Is it still the same staff parking and cafeteria? It's a long
I
area.
think it is. Yes, sir. I think it is. I don't think there is. I know, and honestly, that's the first I've heard of that, even when we did the safety audits. I honestly hadn't heard that particular concern. We are looking at a couple other campuses, looking at some ramps and some
Right.
access ways, but that's a new one, but I will
Just-
look at that.
To be looked at.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Overfelt?
Just real quickly, how's all the single point access going on all the elementaries? Are we 100% on all those already?
We're not quite 100%, sir. We're doing really, really well. We've got, I think, 10 campuses. I think we're lacking 3, 4 if you include blended. Once that project had turned over, of course, that was from a predecessor before Mr. Carrera came in, and we picked those pieces up and moved as quickly as we could. And most of it did work out fine. In the process of actually installing some of those projects, we found some ways that we felt we should stop right now and kind of make a readjust. And so they've slowed us back a little bit. The one that comes to mind the most quickly is the freshman school. We had one door there, and that one door was going to be very limited in its usability because what the staff at freshmen were wanting, they weren't wanting all the visitors to continue to go through, because they have to escort everybody through their innards of the office, kind of. So that one door, while it may have been a little bit cheaper, it certainly wasn't going to give us really what we needed. So we backed out, and now we're looking at installing 3 gates. We found the gate components, such as we installed at Cardwell. That was another one we changed. We put in 2 gates as opposed to 1 glass window. And the 2 gates at Cardwell have been working wonderful. Of course, there's always glitches, and we've adjusted through them. But Mr. Carrera, we received that quote the other day to do the 3 gates now at Del Rio Freshman, so we think that that's going to be wonderful. And fortunately enough, actually, that is going to be, I think, about the same price where we were before, so we're not going to spend much more money there, but it just took us a little more time. Middle school, there's a concern. We had moved the single point entry down to the lower level. We believe now that maybe that should be relocated to the top. But the middle school problem is there's some issues with all the doors. When those doors were installed, sir, you may be aware of this too. It's been an ongoing process, I understand. But those doors aren't very secure. I mean, every time we go over there, I'm sure y'all have seen them too, the doors are opening. They won't stay latched. So really what we're trying to do is go ahead and get a quote to replace all those door components. And then we're probably going to relocate. And we visited with the principal, Mr. Limon, feels very strongly. And so we've reviewed that, and we think we're going to be able to make it better. Take us a little more time. And then the last campus, I think, will be Santa Fe Memorial Middle. And we're working on that too, and it's going to be some of them, of course. Since they were going to build more money, I believe we'll have the budget for them in the next year to finalize them. But the campuses that are working, I think that we have, it's kind of been a learning curve for them to get over. But from what we've heard from most of the principals, they're working quite well. Everybody's kind of adapted.
So those gates at the freshmen, are they going to be mag locked there where nobody can just walk through them, or?
Yes, sir. They'll be, I don't know if they'll be mags or they're going to be the strike. I think they're going to be the strike, the electronic strike, so they'll be slightly different. But yeah, they'll be locked, and so that way what happens is somebody has to buzz to get in the one gate, and that'll allow them to go get badged. And then as soon as they have to come out this direction, and staff would direct them either left or right, depending on what their destination was. But they're coming along good.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chavita?
Thank you. Thank you for what you've done. It's a great program, but there's so much information. What's a code or process that you use to warn the principal as to, and I'm sure you're monitoring whether it be weather, whether it be something, is there a particular thing that you tell them so that they can zero on as to what they need to do?
Well, and that's a very good question. It really is. And one of the things, again, when we look back at the plan, that the district had for a long time, it was just a very, very basic plan. And so then we've come back in, and almost to the point, we have created a lot of information, and these plans are, I'll be the first to admit, they are kind of extensive. Really, the use for these plans is more in training for them and reading them and reviewing them. But The best answer to your question, sir, that I think is going to help us so much, and we may can budget it at the end of this year, I think I have enough money, or else next year, we've been looking at some really good flip books, because in the last 10 years, they've come so far on these flip books. So they're much easier for all the principals and staff to have one in each room. And then, of course, we can customize these based on our plan. So then if there was, say, a rabid dog or a vicious dog, then exactly what steps do you take for a vicious dog? And so you just flip these plastic books over. They have everything from a bus incident to they're very comprehensive. They have bullying. They have things not directly related to emergency operations, but that we would get from some of our other staff so we could build them in. So they kind of be a one-stop for our principals and staff. If an event's happening on my campus, some kind of a serious event, they would be able to flip to it very quickly and walk through those steps. But as far as what we're doing right now, most of the campuses, if they have a weather, they've had severe weather alerts. They know what to do. They implement their drills. If they have a fire, of course, then they implement their fire drill. Most of the campuses have had real-world reverse evacuations where they've had to pull people back inside. And so we would certainly stay in contact with them, but basically a lot of that starts at the campus level. They see it themselves or they hear about it first, something's going on that they're aware of, and they take one of those 5 drills, they take those steps. But I think it will get better, Mr. Shavito, when we're able to get these flip books in process. They're going to be so much easier for us all to use.
There's so much information, such as you were saying about evacuation plans for cheerleaders, teams, etc. If there's a severe weather report, I would imagine that the principal or the athletic director would be advised as to the information that needs to be disseminated to the visiting team.
Yes, and that's all built in, that thing that I showed you that we have in our stadium evacuation plan. All that information's actually in there. And then each one of those kind of leaders would direct, say, the cheerleaders and the bells. They just have to direct them into security, and then they would just wait for us to tell them.
My last question would be that since they have other businesses and yours is to make sure that do you monitor everything, such as weather, advise the athletic director as to what needs to be done, that type of thing?
I stay in pretty much with Mr. Smith constantly. I mean, we talk about the weather. I do watch the weather.
And the principals and all,
and
that type
pretty
of
much
thing.
stay on top of that. Yes, sir. We do watch that. And of course, any other event that was coming up, fortunately, we haven't really had anything, but when there's some event with, communicable disease or something like that, then I am watching that. I'm very focused on that, and we want to stay in front of that as much as possible. So yes, sir, I would.
The reason I was asking, because we were talking about the weather report, and usually our team would be traveling back at night and that type of thing, so you would be monitoring things and giving a heads up as to what's going to happen.
Absolutely. We get that. Transportation sends us out a list of all the travel, every trip, the driver, the sponsor, where they're going, when they're coming back, the hours. So then I monitor the weather, and if I see weather, I typically send Coach Smith, Mr. Rick Maldonado, Chief Maldonado, and we just start there's a text scenario that we just start rolling. We all stay current, and I believe they forward some to Dr. Rios and senior staff as well. But we do watch all travel. I'm monitoring it all.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all
You've done a
very
lot of work in a short period of time. Thank you
Thank
so much. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull any of the items? Yes, sir, Mr. Messi.
Yes, a couple items, the F2, and then if you could, or somebody do us the honor, there's some large sizable donations that certainly need to be pointed out, 125.
F2 and which one?
F2, and there's some sizable donations that I think we need to kind of repeat that we're grateful for the number 1, number 2, and number 5.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
in addition to F2, I have questions about G1 as well.
Why don't we go on ahead and handle those first, and then we'll vote. let's start with F2. Yes, sir?
Okay,
That's Leslie, I think. Les.
my question is not so much on, I read that this is needed for online testing,
Yes.
but do we recoup any of the costs from the old equipment? What do we do with the old?
The plan right now is to take the old equipment and turn them into possibly kiosks for areas to be able to check email quickly. I'm not a fan for, recycling equipment if there is still a use. But as far as the testing requirements and how those have changed over the years, because these devices are 5 years old, they're just not able to meet the demands of what technology is today.
I understand that online testing is one of the main issues.
Yes, that's correct.
I'm just, I see that sizable amount, and I'm thinking, do we get anything from the old equipment whatsoever? I mean, it's like, it's a big chunk of money, I would, just to be fair with, fiscal responsibility, if we are going to incur this expense every 5 years,
Correct.
because technology is changing every day.
And we are watching that on some of our purchases right now. As far as the thin client project, which is what these devices are for, we've actually scaled that back. At one point, we were at 1,250 devices, and we've since scaled it back down to 800. So there's specific areas that these devices work well, and it's easier to manage over them than if we use regular computers in those areas. So then we're faced with use the equipment until it's just totally outdated, in which case it has no resale value, or do it on a regular 3 to 4 year rotation where we can still try and recoup some of those costs.
And that's all, that was my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Les.
Madam Chairman, I have
Yes, sir.
a follow-up question for
Oh.
Mr.
Henge.
Enge.
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious because of the amount, right, on that F1. It's almost $400,000.
Yes.
And there's like almost every meeting now. In November, $130-something thousand for technology purposes of some type. In January, about $138,000. All of them were on the consent. In February, about $150,000. This month, $400,000, $390,000. I mean, do all of these purchases track back to that plan that you presented last April? Or are these
No,
in
sir.
addition to it?
No,
Because
sir.
it's almost $1 million in the span of a
Correct.
few months.
The terminals that we're asking for tonight's line item here was actually going to be presented at next year, and we wanted to get these in place before the new school year starts, so then we can start out fresh, because that was an issue, was having technical problems at the beginning of when school started this year. And we did have a lot of infrastructure things when I first came here to the district that quite honestly needed to be dealt with, and that's why we were experiencing the technical problems that we were. So I don't anticipate that this by any means is going to be ongoing. Obviously, we will be allocating money out for technology so we can look at a refresh rather than wait till all the equipment's too old to do anything with it, and then we have to put the big investments back in. So that's the goal that I'm trying to get to, is to be able to provide a budget that we can refresh the computers on a 3-4 year basis rather than wait until nothing's working and now we're scrambling to hurry up and get everything in working order again.
And so on the user end, in the last several months, the average teacher, the average student is having a better experience?
Yes, that's what we're finding. The plan that I presented back in April was to replace 1,521 desktops, and we're about 200 desktops away from having that project completed, and that's been labeled as our PC refresh project. That's in addition to these WISE terminals that we have, as well as the one-to-one initiative that we're running throughout the district as well.
Dr. Rios?
I think the short answer is yes, they are part of the technology plan that he presented, but in this case, this particular item was moved up from being purchased with the next budget to being purchased now, because if we would have waited until the next budget, we don't start purchasing anything until October. We don't receive it until November, and then the teachers don't have it installed, the students don't have access to it for another semester. And this was one of the issues that came up during the teacher forum, where we meet monthly, and it was just such a significant issue that I asked Cabinet to come together and figure out a way to fund this, and we were able to, and that's why we're able to do it. But it is part of the long-range plan. It was just moved up because of the need.
Any other questions?
Not on that item.
Okay.
Can I go to the other question, or?
Yes, do you want?
That's it for Mr.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to G1.
Yeah, that was my question. I guess Mr. Carrera.
Mr. Carrera.
This is the same contract that was tabled several times, right?
Yes, sir.
In January, the amount was $6,150, and now it's $9,150?
Yes, sir. There was an added site that they want us to look at. It's a larger site than the original site that we've looked at. And so he's going to have to do a survey on that site also. It's much larger than this first one.
Dr. Rios.
Madam President, do you want us to pull these out for a separate vote, or?
No,
I
just
was
want to
gonna
know where
ask
the money's
the
going.
Board.
That's all.
Okay. All right. Then we also wanted to highlight some of the donations. Mr. Mesa, you want to, under the donations, number 1, the Darrow Bank and Trust.
Yes, I just want to, just appreciate the fact that those sizable donations are being done. I think it's a very worthy cause. I read what it's going to be utilized for. And then as well, Board of Federal Credit Union, I think Digital Scoreboard for the softball, Queens softball team. And then also First in Texas Dell, $7,000 to Del Rio Middle School Robotics CTE program. I think that's outstanding, and I just wanted to show my appreciation for those huge amounts.
Absolutely, we definitely do appreciate the support. And the Bank and Trust donated to the Del Rio High School Anatomy and Physiology class, which that's dear to me. That's awesome. Thank you so much for your support of our students and our district. All right, so we reviewed the ones that we had questions, yes?
No, I don't want to take over Josh's job.
No, that's
Oh.
Ms. Haynes now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to take over your job. Okay. I still,
That's her job now, sir.
Ms. Haynes, you want to? Yes, that's what I thought.
If you approve it, yeah.
Threw me off. Okay, now we're ready to vote. Is there a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda? Mr. Overfelt, and second by Mr. Chavira, all in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Now we will proceed with having Ms. Haynes acknowledge those that have made donations.
Thank you. We have Bank and Trust, again, $3,882.42 to Del Rio High School CTE Anatomy and Physiology class. Board of Federal Credit Union, $7,500 to the Digital Scoreboard for the Queen softball field. We also have Chick-fil-A, $196.92 to Buena Vista Elementary. Harlem of Texas, $100 to Irene C. Cardwell Elementary. First in Texas Dell, $7,000 to Del Rio Middle School CTE Robotics. First Robotic Team Booster, $1,633.96 to Del Rio High School CTE Robotics. Target Take Charge of Education, $63.50, Ruben Chavita Elementary. Texas Athletic Productions, $950, San Felipe Del Rio CISD Athletic Department. The Spot and Pro Shop, $300 to Lamar Elementary, $245 to Buena Vista Elementary, $150 to Dr. Juan King Elementary, and $63 to Ruben Chavita Elementary. The following are donations to the San Felipe Memorial Middle School CTE Robotics. The Alvarado family, $25. John and Elizabeth Beatty, $30. BB and Company Styling Salon, $50, and also $25. Del Rio Ambulance LLC, $100. Dr. Louis H. Cadena, $50. Dr. Salama, $100. Rosa Frogasso, $50. Monica Garcia, $30. Intherm of Texas, $250. Diana Jimenez, $50. Kids Playhouse Learning Center, $20. Miles Away from Nowhere, $30. Amelia Perez, $50. Pawn House Pineros, $50. The Probst Family, $50. Ram Country, $100. Rebecca Castro Chavez, $50. Rodolfo Perez III, $20. Rosie's Jewelry, $50. The Reese Family, $50. Oscar Salcedo, $50. Sun Transport Services LLC, $50. The Little Schoolhouse, $100. Norma Villapando Zavila, $25. And Miss Frances F. Rodriguez, $294.38 to Lamar Elementary Wildlife Habitat Project. Thank you for all your donations.
Absolutely, thank you. All right, moving on to number 10, administration. Consideration to approve the first reading of the localized policy FFAC local and DED local. Ms. Sandra Hernandez.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. This evening, I will be presenting two local policies for consideration and approval. FFAC Local, Wellness and Health Services, Medical Treatment, and DED Local, Compensation Benefits, Vacation, and Holidays. The policies that are included in this presentation address the addition of district procedures for the administration and training for administering EpiPens. That would be in FFAC Local. And in addition to DED Local, we are adding terminology which clarifies the term used for hourly waged employees, and that term is auxiliary. And this is as referenced in the TASB salary study. At this time, I can answer any questions.
Any questions? No? We're ready for the recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the first reading of FFAC Local and DED Local and implement the revisions and additions of the language in these policies as recommended by the San Felipe Del Rio CISD Board Policy Review Committee.
You've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? Mr. Oberfeld, first, second by Ms. Haynes. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you. Curriculum and instruction. A, consideration to approve the process to purchase books for students under the Texas Read Initiative. Ms. Aide Garcia.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Rios, members of the board. Read to Them is a nonprofit organization that partners with school districts across the country to promote family literacy, and their program, Texas Reads One Book, allows family to read a book together. Charlotte Webb is the book selected for this year. Coach Garrett, head coach for the Dallas Cowboys, will kick off and read the first chapter by an exclusive video cast, and the families will continue to read a chapter of the book each night. Since the books will be donated to our 3rd through 5th grade students, the board must approve the process to donate the books to the students. Any questions?
Mr. Overfeld has a question.
So the organization's going to donate the books to the school district?
No, we're going to purchase the books,
Oh, okay.
and it's $13,068,
Okay.
and that's coming from an IMA budget. But since we're going to give them to the students,
Donate
then
them too. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I think it's awesome that the students will have an opportunity to follow along with the head coach for the Dallas Cowboys and many schools across Texas. So thank you for supporting that initiative.
And more than anything, a lot of our students don't own their own books, so it'd be nice if they're going to be able to keep it.
Were you able to get them in Spanish as well?
We did ask, because they are available, but none of the campuses selected the Spanish version.
Perfect. Thank you for doing that. All right, any questions? The recommendation, please?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the board approves the process to purchase the books for the students under the Texas Read Initiative as presented.
We've heard the recommendation. Mr. Overfelt first, second by Mr. Chavita, and everybody else, seems like. Any questions? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
And what a great book. All right, B, consideration to approve an agreement between San Felipe Del Rio CISD and Val Verde Nursing and Rehab for the purpose of providing health science technology certified nursing assistant, CNA, students with a training site to conduct the clinical portion requirements of the CNA program. Mr. Roger Gonzalez.
Good evening, Mrs. Lozano, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. Again, CTE is developing a memorandum of understanding with Valverde Nursing and Rehab, a nursing home facility, to continue to serve as a clinical site, training site, for students that are enrolled in the CNA program at Del Rio High School. This medical facility will provide students the opportunity to have members of their staff serve as mentors as students practice what they have learned in their class and obtain their 40 hours of training. This requirement will continue to the end of the 2016-2017 school year and will automatically renew for 1 year, unless terminated in accordance with the provisions of the agreement.
Any questions, comments? Okay, recommendation, please.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the superintendent to sign the agreement with Valverde Nursing and Rehab as presented.
I so move. Do we have a second? Mr. Overfelt? Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Unanimous. Thank you. Right. Under 13, Business and Finance, consideration to approve the submittal of application for a TASB Risk Management Fund Loss Prevention Grant. Ms. Laura English.
Good evening, Mrs. Lozano, Dr. Rios, members of the board. We have been applying for the loss prevention grant awarded by TASB Risk Management Fund since 2010. The purpose of the grant program is to provide the district with opportunities to reduce losses and raise awareness of safety issues. We would like to submit, once again, that grant application, so we are asking for your approval. Are there any questions?
Any questions? No?
Okay.
No, okay. Thank you for securing that grant for us again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve for the superintendent to sign and submit the application for TASB Risk Management Fund Loss Prevention Grant.
We've heard the recommendation, moved by Mr. Chavita, second by Mr. Overfelt. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. Motion carries. All right, consideration to approve the renewal of the Food Service Management Company contract with Southwest Food Service Excellence, LLC. Ms. Yanakani Valdez.
Good evening, Ms. Lozano, Dr. Rios, board members. The contract with Southwest Food Excellence LLC as the Food Service Management Company commenced on July 1st, 2015, with 4 annual renewal terms of 1 year each upon mutual agreement between the district and the Food Service Management Company. Included in your board packet was some highlights of what changes the program has offered from the beginning of the year through the month of February, and we also included the documents that were required for the renewal process from the Texas Department of Agriculture. Just to touch briefly on some of the highlights, one of the main items that was introduced to our elementary and secondary schools were fresh fruit and salad bars. We began having weekly meetings with all of the managers and sharing the minutes of those meetings with all of the staff to improve all the communication for this program. We also have acquired new point of sales or new computers for the campuses. SFE also brought in a support team in the month of October to assist with, learning all of the new recipes and the new products that the program offers. They also have different promotions that have gone on throughout the year. For example, on Thanksgiving, it wasn't just Thanksgiving Day, we did Thanksgiving week, to give all parents the opportunity who may have students at more than one campus, and we served over, I believe it was 3,000 parents, and that's just, or parents and staff, and also the students. During Valentine's, they did heart-shaped pepperonis, and they had Love Your Heart bar, which included all red, either vegetables or fruits. They also had Dr. Seuss's green eggs and ham served on Dr. Seuss's birthday. Also, there's at least four training opportunities offered to staff on a monthly basis. Also, at the campuses, they have the roving chef and educational programs and taste testing or sampling for future menu options. And this year, we also were awarded a grant for increasing our breakfast participation with a grab-and-go concept. Mr. Romero is also here if you have any questions.
Any questions?
Just a comment.
Mr. Overfeld has a comment?
Just a comment, I liked that the elementary level there as it rolled out, the salads. I went one day back in the fall, diabetes and obesity along our area of Texas there, so I'm real happy to see that and glad it's gone real well, so I thank you all for that.
I too have to add a comment about that. The focus on child nutrition is really key, especially in light of the increased percentage of our children who are obese. So changing their eating patterns and exposing them to healthy foods is really key to keeping these children healthy. So thank you for opening the menu up to include healthier food for our kids. Really do appreciate that. Plus, the presentation is really nice, and all the little fun things that you bring to the kids, I'm sure they're thrilled to have that. So thank you. Mr. Mesa?
I also want to thank you for changing our entire program in a positive manner, because what I have seen so far is that very little food that is thrown in the trash. Most of it is consumed. They like the choices that they make, and so they're eating, from my opinion, more than in the past, because I used to see a lot of food just being thrown away. So they're given choices and something they like, and so it's causing them to eat the food that they're taking, and I see that as a real positive thing, more nutrition. Thank you.
Mr. Chavira?
Yes, I just want to thank you for the changes that were made. I have elementary grandkids and junior high and secondary, so I hear good comments from them. I'm glad that a change was made and for the best, and everything is going on. Mr. Mesa was saying I was very much concerned, I voiced it all the time as to the amount of food that was being wasted, that was just being thrown, and it's being reduced, and I thank you, and I hope that we continue to improve.
We have a lot of other new concepts coming rolling out here in spring, so just to increase it and make it a little bit different, a little bit better.
Okay.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I just have to ask.
Mr. Garabedian.
So as far as not wasting as much food, how has that been assessed? Is that accurate?
Well, what we do, sir, is we keep track of our food costs, all the food cost dollars that we we have a weekly profit and loss statement that we send out to our managers that state exactly how many breakfasts they served, how many lunches they served, and then we use that a dollar food cost on per plate as, you know, that's a normal number. $4, $5 is okay, but we usually target $1 because it's a lot easier to pinpoint that. And we make sure that every manager, you know, they're ordering the proper items and, you know, we're not wasting. And we're looking at the production records and we look at the waste on the production records to make sure that those numbers are matching correctly. And if there's a lot of waste one day, we make adjustments on that menu item the next time it rolls out.
So the possible minimizing of the wasted food is because of the managerial aspect, not because of the students eating. Is that what you're saying?
And that also, what also helps is like the rest of the board members saying that they have their choices. It's no longer, it's offer versus serve, but we put out a variety of fresh fruits and vegetables and canned fruit as well. And the kids are getting their choices. So they're eating what they're taking. They're not really kind of force-fed what they want. They're making their choices, which of course, if they make their choices, chances are they're going to eat the item. So that's why there's less waste as well.
So they're eating more or they're not?
Yes, they're eating more.
And you can quantify that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me ask you, this is more for administration, because it was last April when the board approved the contract. I was the only person who said no. I had concerns since the first step, which was back in November. That's when we asked the Texas Department of Agriculture that we wanted to go ahead. We were all in agreement. Somewhere in between, I asked about possible problems encountered by other districts. I don't know if anyone remembers that or not. But in April, you brought the contract and it passed. I guess it was 5-1 or 6-1 or whatever. So my question is, at this point, after a year of experience in somewhat significant issues in food service employee concerns, what do you expect going forward this next year? How is it going to be better? How are we aware of the potential problems that are out there? Because obviously, in November, remember there were two parts to the process, right? In November, it was to notify the Texas Department of Agriculture that we were interested in doing it. April of last year was the actual letting of the or passage of the contract like this. So, what do we know now that's going to prevent problems from reoccurring? There was a problem with the food service staff. I mean, that's common knowledge. And I'll be the first to commend administration and the food service company. They worked diligently to fix that. But that can't be the only possible problem. So what can we expect moving forward? Because nobody sat here a year ago and said, well, we're going to have trouble with these changes with the food service department. Nobody foresaw that.
Well, I think that we all know that when we implement a new program, there's always growing pains. But I think that we're committed to having ongoing meetings on a monthly basis with our food service staff, just like we're having with our custodians, so that we can see these problems ahead of time and not have to be reactionary. We think that every step that we've taken is a long-term solution. The solution or the problem that is before us right now, because we want to continue to have different offerings, which is what they bring, one of the things they bring to the table, is to have those staffing studies to make sure that the students are provided the choices they want, but the staff is also supported with the appropriate staff. We have been trying to contact other districts so that we can go ourselves, as well as take some cafeteria workers to visit their staffing patterns, so we can be transparent both with our employees and with the food service management company, and implement the appropriate staffing to continue to have the number of choices. But I think those two things, transparency and the ongoing meetings, so that we can nip any problems as soon as they arise. It's proved effective so far. We anticipated that there would be some issues going forward. We certainly couldn't pinpoint them, but I think that the process that we have in place will certainly ensure that we are responsive and not reactionary.
So how did it add value to what we do in terms of food service? I mean, in this year, which was a transition year, right, was it more, was it better financially? Was it better nutritionally? Was it better, I mean, what were the positive takeaways?
The participation was absolutely higher, and I think that we can provide numbers to show that more kids are going through the lines of eating not only reimbursable meals, but also the paid lunches. So that's one issue that we can point to. And I think that beyond that issue, there's very little that we can quantify, short of putting a scale out there to see how much waste is being taken out of the cafeteria on a daily basis. You can visually measure it, and I think that they've done that. But the way we quantify it is by, one, the number of servings that the students get, and two, the number of choices that they have. I don't know that there's any other quantifiable information that we have. Now, budget-wise, because of the raises that we gave, budget-wise, you might see a deficit. But in terms of the money that came in, because there were larger numbers of students being served, that's certainly one way to quantify it.
Okay, so as far as what students and parents think about the change in food service, we've done some sort of survey or an assessment?
We've only done student surveys. We've done student surveys and student taste tests. We haven't gone out to parents or anything and done those types of surveys, no, sir. We can, if you like, we can, roll out something like that, but we have never done that. We haven't done it here yet.
And the feedback from the students?
We had great feedback. I mean, we had some items that they would like to see back on the menu, which is crispitos. It's a big item here. But, right now, I got a hold of Tyson because they were not whole grain, so we can't serve them. Now, Tyson is in the process of creating a whole grain crispito that we can start serving, but we couldn't serve it this year. It's not in compliant. That was one of the biggest concerns. Everybody wants to see crispitos back. Even the teachers.
Can't blame them for asking. Any other questions, comments? Mr.
One thing
Chavira?
that came to mind, have you noticed that the kids drink more chocolate milk than regular milk? Is it?
Well,
I don't know the difference.
We order a lot more chocolate milk than white milk. Now, the chocolate milk is fat-free.
It's what?
The chocolate milk is fat-free. We operate fat-free chocolates, and then 1% white. Just in case, they choose more chocolate milks, at least it has less fat.
And the reason I'm saying this is because I asked my grandkids, they say that the milk has a different taste. Maybe we need to check on it.
Again, the chocolate milk is fat-free, it tastes a little bit different. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we can serve a variety of milk. We just kind of choose to serve the fat-free chocolate because more kids drink chocolate than white, and we leave the white at 1%.
Okay. We're ready for the recommendation.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the renewal of the Food Service Management Company contract with Southwest Food Service Excellence, LLC.
We have heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? Mr. Chavira, second by Mr. Mesa. Any further discussion? All in favor? Five, four, opposed?
Nope.
Mr. Garabedian opposed. Motion does carry. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you and your team. All right, Human Resources and Student Services. First on the agenda is the consideration to approve the revised auxiliary job classification schedule and salary matrix placement scale. Ms. Yanakani Valdez,
So here. Good evening again. We placed a copy of this memo and the items. We have with the job classification schedule provided by TASB, it included the reclassification of 5 job titles to the auxiliary schedule from the paraprofessional schedule. The salary matrix placement of 3 of those job titles did not exist at that time. In February, the employees brought that to our attention where They were changed to a new schedule, to a new job classification schedule, which now board policy, DED local, comes into place, which provides 10 paid holidays. I visited with those employees in order to, reach a consensus and for them to understand what the calendar would look like now. Those employees were previously classified as 226-day employees, which means they're paid for 226 days. Which meant that under the paraprofessional job schedule, we have in our calendar 25 non-paid holidays. Now, them being on the auxiliary job schedule, 10 of those days would be paid because board policy DED local states that auxiliary employees are paid for 10 holidays. So that took those employees from 226 days of being paid to 236. These employees are classified as 12-month employees, and as 12-month employees, we offered, or what we offer is 10 days off with no pay. Again, those days aren't in the calendar. Those are taken as they choose throughout the year. Those are also part of board policy DED, which are called the non-duty days, the days that you can carry over for just 1 year, and it's a use-or-lose process. So when I met with the employee, I asked him the question, do you use all of your days? And if you're constantly losing days, this schedule, which is for 241 days, does reduce the number of those days off that you're not paid, but if you're losing them, you're not taking them anyways. So again, we sat together and we went through the process where I explained how the change from paraprofessional to auxiliary was not going to impact the number of days they worked. It just simply changes the number of days that they're paid to be in compliance with board policy. So the number of days that they would be paid is for 241 days. Again, adding those 10 days of paid holidays and then changing the days off from 10 to 5. And so with that would put them at 241 days. And what I included in there is just one of the calendars that we have, and this is, you have the packet right here. What I included in there is the calendar that we have, which shows the paid holidays versus non-paid holidays. It shows the number of days that are in the calendar. The job classification schedule, which shows the change to the number of days that they're being paid for. It doesn't change the number of days that they're working. And then the lanes. Of course, all of our job classification groups have a lane based on the number of days. So that's what we're presenting tonight. Once, with this approval, then we can calculate the retro for those employees, which is a process that still hadn't been completed for them.
How many employees does this impact?
It is, let me see, it's 4.
Okay.
4 employees. 4 employees.
And you had feedback from everyone?
Yes, they were all together. We had a meeting. I think we were there for about an hour and a half where we went through each step of the process to where everybody was in consensus as to what this change meant.
Okay. Any other questions? No? All right. Ready for the recommendation?
Thank you. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the revised auxiliary job classification listing and salary matrix placement scale.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? Mr. Chavita, second by myself. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Valdez. All right. Consideration to approve the employee job description and evaluation forms for work. The following, which Dr. McNamara will review.
All right, President Martinez-Lozano, members of the board, and Dr. Rios. In December, TASB provided us with some title changes, and so in that tradition, when we brought some in December, we brought some in January and February. So it is now March, and so we have another set of job description evaluations to look at. They're in 4 sections. However, tonight we are going to pull the maintenance section from your agenda.
that to include the small engine repair mechanic and the welder. We're going to take another look at those and make some revisions and bring those in April. So this evening, we're presenting from the campus, the computer lab aid, the instructional aid, the parental liaison aid, the parental liaison ESL bilingual aid, and the LVN. On the LVN job description, we'd like to make a minor revision to reports to at the top of the job description. In your packet, it says reports to the principal. We'd like to change that to lead RN nurse, which is Kiki Gladson, / the principal, because the principal's at the campus, but they are overseen by Kiki, our lead nurse. So we'd like to point that out and make that small change tonight. Under the superintendent division, we have the executive assistant for superintendent and the board, job description evaluation, and under technology integration and communication services, we have the web content specialist. Dr. Garza, Ida Garcia, Reno Luna, and of course, Ms. Valdez and Dr. Rios have reviewed these for your consideration this evening.
All right, any questions? Mr. Mesa?
On that executive assistant for superintendent board,
Yes, sir.
is that the pay remains the same?
Pardon me?
The pay?
No, sir.
No, that was based on the TASB salary.
If we remember, I'm sorry, when TASB came and did the salary study, they looked at different positions that we specifically asked for them. And when you all approved the salary increases for all of the paraprofessionals in the auxiliary, the position of secretary to the superintendent, which in this case is Ms. Falcon, she was reclassified, and the duties of a board secretary and superintendent were combined, and her pay was reclassified. So she did take an increase along with everybody else. Hers probably included one extra step, or I'm sorry, pay grade.
Pay grade.
So she did take a pay raise, and we've offered to bring the job description as soon as we had it ready, and now it's ready.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to, I forgot to point one other thing out on that LVN.
Okay.
Just a question, and maybe they do. On that first page, it talks about, at the bottom of the page, to provide first aid and nursing care for all ill or injured children. And it implies that the LVN actually transports the student maybe to their home or to a medical facility? We have our nurses transport students?
No, they assist the students and their families in obtaining that, so they would call the parents would come pick them up.
Okay.
So maybe we,
Yeah, because I would be concerned about that.
right,
Okay.
no, they do not do
I think
that.
it's written a little confusing.
Like, you're
looks
talking
like
about
they-
B, Ms.
I'm
Lozano?
talking about B, yes.
3B, okay. I'll reword that so that it's clear.
Oops, sorry about that. Okay. I just think, yeah, liability there would be huge.
Right, we struck out by providing transportation to the student's home.
So what are they providing then?
Obtaining medical attention.
In their home? So you'll look at
It
that.
just sounds confusing.
Yeah, I can reword that.
All right, perfect. All right, ready for the recommendation, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. It is a recommendation of the administration that the employee job description and evaluation forms be approved as presented this evening with the modification to the LVN job description as presented.
Okay, we've heard the recommendation. We have a motion by Mr. Chavita, second by Mr. Overfelt. Just one thing, I was kind of not paying attention to you. Did you say you were going to exclude the maintenance piece?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
To include the campus, the superintendent, and the technology integration communication services, and the maintenance section will be brought in April.
Perfect.
We exclude the LVN one as well. I just want to make sure we look at it a little closer, and that way we present the exact verbiage that we're going to share with y'all.
Sure, absolutely.
Because the way you're approving it right now, you're approving it based on whatever we change it to, and I'd rather we just bring it back to the board very clear. It won't hurt us to wait one more
Yeah.
month.
Okay, all right, so you want to reread that
Yes.
recommendation?
Yes, ma'am. It is the recommendation of the administration that the employee job description evaluation forms to include the campus, computer aid, lab aid, the instructional aid, the parental liaison aid, the parental liaison ESL bilingual aid, under superintendent, the executive assistant for superintendent board, and under technology integration community services, the web content specialist, as presented this evening.
All right, we've heard the revised recommendation. Motion by Mr. Chavita, second by Mr. Mesa. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you. All right, this leads us to closed session. It is March 21st at 8:20. The Board of Trustees will now recess this open season and convene in a closed meeting in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Subchapter D and E. We're able to do that under Sections 551.071 through 551.074, 551.076, 551.082, 551.084. Specifically, pursuant to 551.071, discussion of personnel or to hear complaints against personnel, and 551.071, private consultation with the board's attorney. 1, Level 3 hearing, Marisela Maldonado. 2, discussion of personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, resignations, and reassignments. 3, discussion of salary adjustments to include, but not limited to, the following justifications: service credit, master's degree, and stipends. Number 4, discussion of teachers' contracts. Number 5, the consideration of limited waiver of attorney-client privileged information. If a final vote is required on any matter considered in the closed or executive session, it shall be taken either upon the reconvening of the public session covered by this notice or at a subsequent duly posted public meeting as the board shall determine. We are now in closed session. It is March 21st at 9:35 p.m. The Board of Trustees will now reconvene in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Subchapter D and E. No action was taken in closed session. The board may now vote upon and or take action as to any or all of the items considered under closed session. We will go directly to discussion of personnel report to include new hires, which there were none, district vacancies, retirements, resignations, and reassignments. Dr. Patricia McNamara.
Right. President Martinez-Lozano, members of the board, and Dr. Rios, at this time, the administration does not have any personnel recommendations for this evening.
Right, thank you. Going on to consideration to approve salary adjustments to include the service credit, master's degree, and stipends.
Okay. President Martinez-Lozano, members of the board, and Dr. Rios, is a recommendation of the administration that the salary adjustments be approved as presented tonight in closed executive session.
Okay, we've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion, Mr. Mesa, and second by Mr. Overfelt? Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to consideration to approve teacher contracts.
Okay. President Martinez-Lozano, members of the board, and Dr. Rios, it is a recommendation of the administration that the school board of trustees approve the teacher contracts as presented tonight in closed executive session.
We've heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion? Mr. Chavita, second by Mr. Mesa. Any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you, Dr. McNamara. That leads us to our last item, adjournment.
I apologize. Is it appropriate to make a comment on items A and B?
Sure, if you choose to.
The administration was ready to respond to the level 3 hearing. However, the grievant did not show up. And the administration based on discussions closed session, we'll table item B until the appropriate reports are ready to be reviewed by the board.
Thank you for clarifying that. Now on to the adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
A motion made by Mr. Overfelt and second by Mr. Mesa. All in favor? Unanimous. Meeting adjourned at 9:30.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a great Easter.